ADHD paralysis. I know a lot of people have analysis paralysis, but this is a bit different. ADHD paralysis is more of a task paralysis or an executive dysfunction. We have this inability to start, maintain, or finish tasks for a few different reasons. It could be overwhelming stress, anxiety, or just mental fatigue. We'll feel stuck and unable to proceed or take action. Oftentimes with ADHD paralysis, it can look like you're procrastinating. I got diagnosed in my 40s, but when I was in school, my parents used to get a lot of complaints from teachers that I would procrastinate. Now it all makes sense. And even after school, up until now, I recently got fired from my job that I was at for almost 15 years. And one of the reasons was that, ironically, my director also has ADHD and dyslexia, but I guess it affects him in a different way because he fired me. A lot of people say I could take action and sue the company and all that, but to be honest, I wasn't happy with that job. But anyways, I'm veering off course. Let's get back to ADHD paralysis. So the situation with my job was that my new director kept adding tasks and things that I need to learn and become expert on, things that I had zero interest in learning and knowing how, but he wanted to push those things and he wanted me to learn it and to become an expert and teach other people. And it was one after the other after the other. I had to become an expert in everything 365, Microsoft 365, all the apps within it, Teams, a bunch of other things. That's one of the tasks. Another task was Asana. I had to become an expert in Asana and Zapier. Now, yeah, Asana, Zapier, those are much simpler than the full 365. But that's not all. It was like a few other things, one on top of the other. All that added to my daily work tasks. Oh, and on top of that, they wanted me to get 3 certifications. Now, if you're the ADHD person or dyslexic person that are fixated with IT and love the stuff, yeah, this will be easy for you. I'm really not that person. I've been waiting for an opportunity to shift positions from IT to something else in the company because the company was great, dealing with artists, and the whole staff, all talented people. It always felt like the company always had an opportunity for me until it didn't, until I got fired. So I'm just telling you the things that has affected me about ADHD paralysis. Because remember, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. I didn't even know ADHD paralysis was a thing until I analyzed it and looked it up and decided to make a video on it. But yeah, all this stuff matches me. Most of the symptoms, like for example, one of them, feeling stuck or unable to take action. An overwhelming feeling of anxiety, stress, or mental fatigue. Another one, increased anxiety and stress, headache, dizziness, or light headaches. Yeah, the headache. I don't know about the dizziness, but light headache, yes, and headache. Feeling sick, faint, or nauseous. I don't think I've had that. Although I do attribute my vitiligo. I don't know if you guys can see the spots in my hand. You can see there. And I get one here, I think. To stress induced. I don't know if it's related to paralysis, but I guess it does because of the job situation. But yeah, I got overly stressed, anxiety, all that. And that caused, in my opinion, in my doctor's opinion, that caused vitiligo, or at least pushed it outwards. Now, a lot of people have analysis paralysis, and from what I understand, ADHD paralysis is similar but not the same. ADHD paralysis is analysis paralysis brought on from ADHD, so it works out a little bit different. Now, this one situation that happens to me a lot, and I was looking it up, and it does seem to be related to ADHD paralysis, is, as a matter of fact, it happened the day I got fired, is when you have a fear of taking an action to change something or to select something different than your routine because you think it's going to change your outcome of the day or of your life. And the day that I got fired, I keep talking about getting fired. The day that I got fired, I wore a different watch. I wear my G-Shock every day, my blacked out 5600. And that day I wore my other Casio watch. I like Casio watches. I do have fancy watches too. I have a nice Rado. Problem with that is because of my ADHD and dyslexia, it's, I can tell time. It just takes me, when somebody asks me for the time, like if I'm looking for myself, within a second I know. But when somebody's asking me for the time, right now my Casio says 9:48. But if I look at this one, and instead of saying 9:48, I'm gonna say 9. I get like that. And I've always liked the since the 80s. I'm old as hell. In the 80s, my father had an electronics store, and I used to keep all the returned watches because they were defective or whatever the reason they were. My father would just give them to me. I used to get them running. Usually it was just a battery or something silly. As a matter of fact, this video's changing a lot, huh? Still have a Seiko from the 80s, which is a nice watch. It's funny how much smaller the watches were back then. Getting back. See, ADHD. I changed the video completely, huh? So that day, I wore my other Casio watch, a different pair of shoes. Every day I wear a black t-shirt. That day I wore a black t-shirt, but with a company logo, which I rarely ever wore, which was ironic because I got fired wearing the company shirt. Now, I'm not saying that it happened because of it. I know that day I had my employee review, and that's why I got fired. But I know I was having my employee review. The whole reason I did all this thing, because I was looking for a change. I wanted something different to happen in my employee review. I was hoping, to be honest, I was hoping for them to say, we really appreciate your commitment to the company, blah, 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 and offer me like a position in a different department or even in the same department, but doing something completely different. In my mind, I was also thinking that, hey, this could get me fired as well. And it's funny because it happened. One of the two things happened. I did change these things that supposedly in my mind was going to change the outcome of my life. And it did. But it doesn't prove anything. I mean, things led to that point. Maybe my mind kind of resolved and created an excuse. Made me choose to wear different things, do different things. Or even take a different route to work. But yeah, a few times in my life, I've done things like that, like try to change the outcome. Nothing really changed. But this time it did, coincidentally. And like I said, I think it was all my mind knowing that something was going to happen. And I kind of blamed it on me changing things around. But yeah, analysis paralysis. It's a lot of times when you're in a restaurant and you see 3 entrees that you really, really like, and you're really interested in eating. And you just take forever to decide which of the 3. That's one of them. You have the fear of choosing the wrong one, which to be honest, there is no wrong one. You've never eaten any of the 3. You know, you always have a fear of not getting the ideal. Or when you have a lot of tasks, a lot of things that you need to do, and you just push them all aside. That's from what I understand ADHD paralysis is. I know it relates a lot to people that are not ADHD and they go through analysis paralysis, but it's different for ADHD. I think I rambled on way more than I should have, huh? So I did something a little bit different in this video. I didn't edit out some of my rambling like I usually do. I usually remove my rambling or when I go completely off course. So if you made it this far, tell me if you prefer the rambling or should I just stick to the facts on my next video. Thanks.